Hey, what's up, everyone? Time to live the dream again. I'm Rishi Barran from the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting. And this is episode number 47 of the Livin The Dream video podcast. We'll call it the John Lynch edition, number 47, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer. We got a Sunshine State native with us, so why not? That is Janyre Cooper. She has recently reached her 2-year anniversary at WALB-TV, where she serves as a sports reporter anchor. And as anybody knows, working in a smaller market station pretty much means you do a little bit of everything. And Janyre's done that all at a high level. Janyre, I know you just came back from a trip to New Jersey. Thanks for making time to be here with us today.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited. I've watched so many of these, so it's like so weird to be like on the other side filming it now, but I'm excited.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes like you're so used to I'm the one asking questions and I'm on camera, but it's different when people are asking you questions about yourself. And I hope that this is a nice trip down memory lane, if we want to use a bad cliche, of what your journey's been like. And I don't know how much time you've taken to reflect on everything that you've done, but we'll start from the beginning. Where did this dream of being a sportscaster start for you?
It really like I don't know, I feel like one day I was just like, "Oh, I kind of want to do that." I grew up in a sports family, like we always had football on. I did competitive cheer my whole life, and if you know anything about the cheer world, it runs through football season and you compete on the weekends. And I remember my family would just always complain and be like, "Oh, we have to go to this cheer competition, like the game is on today." Like they would just be in the stands with their phone, like watching the game. And I used to like hate football because I was like, "Oh, that's like taking away from my time as cheer. Like all my family wants to watch football." And then eventually I just learned more about it because it was always around me and sports were always around me. And we would have family parties and I would just watch how it would kind of like bring everyone together. Everyone was having fun. It didn't matter like if you're rooting for different teams, like everyone was still enjoying it. And I remember just watching a game and watching all the sideline reporters, the halftime stuff, and I was just kind of like, wait, I like kind of want to do that. This looks so fun, and I always knew I wanted to be like in the entertainment business. And somehow, I think just growing up in cheerleading and being in the world that we were with like TV and everything like that, and the access we had to it, I always knew it was something I wanted to do, but I wasn't really sure. And then one day I think I just saw it on TV and I was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. And it just kind of went from there. And next thing you know, I blinked my eyes and I was here. So I would say that's where it really started.
It's almost like from one sideline to the other, right? You're a
Mm-hmm.
cheerleader, and now I know you've had thoughts that, hey, maybe I want to be a sideline reporter one day. And you
Mm-hmm.
said you had a sports family. What kind of support did they give you to be competitive and go after things like that when you were a kid?
Yeah, they were always so supportive. And I grew up with a lot of male cousins and they're very competitive. They would always beat me up and just all kinds of stuff. So it was like I had to just find a way to like survive, not survive, but like, handle it and deal with it and beat them at certain things and just like want to be better than them. So I feel like growing up with that like pushed that in me. And then my entire family are like workaholics. They love to work. They eat, breathe, and sleep work. So I feel like I've always seen that mindset and just always being successful at kind of what they've done. And I think just growing up in that environment like kind of shaped like who I am now and how I've gotten where I am and what I was able to do at Dan Patrick and everything like that.
I know some people don't know the ins and outs of how much goes into competitive cheer. And that's not
Mhm.
just you're coming up with some chant on during the game and waving a few pom poms. There's a lot that goes into it. How did going through the process of all the work you put in really lead you down a path in life where it's paid off for you?
I think just going about it every day. It was only a 2 minute and 30-second routine, but we put hours and months and it felt like, I mean, years because I did it for years into this. So to know that I could put all this work into something and at the end of that routine, when you hit it and you're holding up that banner, you're holding up that trophy, just to feel that ounce of like, this was all worth it. I think having that experience at like a young age really helped me to know that, okay, I'm putting in all these hours and work, but it helped me kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel through everything to know that this is going to lead to something that's going to be like indescribable and feel so amazing. So I think doing that, because it was year round. I mean, you finish and then you're doing some summer classes, and then all of a sudden you're back starting up the season and learning the routines and just going day after day in practice. So I think putting all that time in so young and feeling that success made me want to do that through everything in life.
What was your favorite memory from cheerleading?
I think it was just the long practices. There were days where, and this is maybe too graphic, but girls would be throwing up on the side because we're so exhausted and we're like pushing our bodies to like the limit. And then you just have that moment where it's like it's like a family. So just to spend all the hours and times and the inside jokes and just be able to have like a glimpse of that, haha, this is so much fun. Like I love these girls in the midst of the chaos that was competitive cheerleading was my favorite part, just the quality time and hanging out with them day after day. You build such a close relationship practicing 5, 6 times a week, it felt like sometimes. So I think just that bond and relationships that you build was my favorite part easily.
You spent a lot of your life in Central Florida before
Mhm.
moving to Georgia now. Some kids might dream that, oh wow, I'm in sunny place. Disney's not that far away, all that stuff. But what did you take from being a young person in that environment?
I think Central Florida's a really unique place in a way. It's almost like a big melting pot of just all the different areas of Florida. And now you have so many of the Northerners coming down and moving to Central Florida. So I feel like I got a really good experience of the real world and all the different kind of personalities and people and everything out there. So for me, I feel like now that I've just made this move to Albany, Georgia, which is really different than Central Florida, I've had experiences with all different kinds of people from all different walks of life. And I feel like it's allowed me to kind of blend into the world or like learn and adapt and change. So I feel like that was a big part. And then also summer all year round. So I kind of learned to have fun with it as well.
We've done almost 50 of these video podcasts now, and I gotta say, you're the first one that I can think of that has listed baking as a favorite hobby. When did you start getting into that?
Well, it's crazy because she's like my sister, but we're just like really close family friends. She has always been a baker and she cooks cakes, she does all this stuff. And I remember used to grow up and like watch her do it all and be so mesmerized by it. So I just kind of would like do it on the side with her for fun. So for me, when I think of baking, I always think of like just that fun time. I'm a big quality time girl. You'll learn like it's so it reminds me of that. So I think when I do it, I'm kind of like put back in that space and it allows me just to like relax and unwind and just bake.
Do you have a memory of something that you created early on that was, oh, that was so good, or it was just something that you were proud of once you got done with it?
Um, Honestly, like no, it would just be little things. I have like more of things where I they would not turn out good. Like you would make pies and they would be soupy and you're like, okay, well maybe this is not for me. Things like that, but just anything. They were small things, cupcakes, cookies, anything like that. I do remember like making it the first time and like getting the swirl where you swirl the icing and like actually getting it to look good and being like, oh my God, I did that. Like I could I could do this. That was probably the one thing. Getting my one perfect swirl cupcake. I think I've gotten maybe like 5 out of 500, but
Wow.
the first one was pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm sure like that moment of satisfaction when things don't go right. It's kind of similar to what you're doing now, right? Like I
Hmm.
know all the work you put into our program to just kind of get better and better and better. And I was just saying this before we started to you how I'm been so impressed with your growth, but seems like a similar mindset that's like, you're striving for perfection. You're never gonna get there. But those moments when you hit something right or something goes wrong, they seem to sit there forever. What do you take from those moments?
I think it makes you take in the good moments even more, but it also just makes you, in a way, like appreciate the journey. Like these moments of success wouldn't feel as good if I didn't fail 100 times. It would just be like, oh, okay, like I did it again, like woo. So I think those moments make the moments that you do it and you do feel like accomplished even better. And then just learning to also enjoy the journey. I feel like we get so caught up on getting to the finish line and getting there that you almost like skip past everything and you forget all the fun that you get to do during it. So I think just enjoying the moment and embracing the wins and embracing the losses just as much.
Lots of cheerleading in your background, all the things you've mentioned during the course of our conversation so far, but now you're in high school trying to figure out what's next. What was
Mhm.
high school years Janyre Cooper like?
She was confused, honestly. I knew this was something I wanted to do, but I wasn't even in high school that long ago. I graduated in 2017, but it felt like I didn't know the path to get here. Like I had no idea where to go, where to start. We had a career day my senior year, and I think I wore like scrubs because I was like, I don't know. Like I don't know. This is what I want to do, but I don't know how to get there. And I would just cheerlead and kind of go through my day, and I did really live life in the moment. And then when I got to my senior year, I was kind of like, okay, I have to make a decision. Um, but it was a lot of just trying to figure it out day by day, looking at schools to see maybe how do I get involved in this? Where do I go from here? Things of that nature. I did cheerleading up until my junior year of high school, and then it was my senior year where I stopped cheerleading, and then I was kind of looking to the future. So I was like in a very just like life change, but not life changing, but just confused state, I would say. I would say my high school years were fun, but also confusing.
Well, ultimately, you decided to stay close to home. You went to UCF, and you
hmm
were you were in communication and media studies there. What made you decide UCF was the best place to take that next step?
Well, actually, this is like not on anything, but my freshman year, I went to FAU,
Oh,
and
I did not know that. All right.
yeah, little curveball there. I went to FAU. I don't claim it because it was a year I wasn't fond of the school. I felt like I wanted to get in sports and they didn't have a big sports environment at FAU. It was very this college placed in like this very rich established town, and it wasn't for me. So my freshman or after my freshman year I was like, I'm gonna go back home. I'm gonna go to UCF. My dad went to UCF. I grew up around UCF. My friends are at UCF, so I was like, I'm gonna go to UCF. So I decided to transfer back. But the thing about UCF is it's like one of the biggest schools in the nation. And when you can get into the school, but once you get into the school, then you have to get into your certain major. And I didn't get into the TV broadcasting major. I wasn't accepted into it. So then I kind of had to pivot, and I kind of was like, maybe this isn't for me. So I kind of set my mind on social media marketing instead for a few years. And then I did communications, things of that nature.
So FAU didn't seem
hmm
to be the place for you. I'm sure Dad, being an alum, was pretty happy for that decision.
Yeah,
I'm sure
definitely.
it's tough though to make a choice, and now you're like, I'm packing up. I'm going, kind of going back home, right? What
hmm
was that time in your life like?
It was like a lot. I feel like when you get out of high school, you're still trying to like find yourself and find what you like. And now you're trying to make this big decision on what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. And I didn't love where I was. So that was a lot. And it made me just like sit back and reflect on what I want, the people I want around me, how much family means to me and being close to them. Um, and ultimately, I just knew that I wanted to go back to UCF, which is funny because when I went to FAU, I was like, I don't want to be close to home. Like, I want to get away. All my friends were going to UCF because we went to high school right here. And then it took a year for me to be away to be like, actually, I want to go back and be around like my friends and family and be somewhere where I feel like I can grow in the environment and like be around like-minded people.
Well, one thing you got to do at UCF was work with the athletic department, and it
hmm
seems to me that was probably during the height of COVID. So I'm sure that was an interesting time to learn from them. What was that experience like?
It was definitely interesting to see how the athletic department ran during COVID. I actually was more of like the marketing side of it. And I remember it taught me that I didn't want to go into the marketing side of sports. That's for sure. I spent a year there and I met great people, and it really showed me kind of the ins and outs of how an athletic department runs. But I just knew marketing like was not for me. I'm like, this is not for me. I am sitting here handing out these flyers and I'm like looking over my shoulder trying to like watch the game every 5 seconds and see what's going on. I just was like, this is not for me. So it was a good learning experience, but more showing me kind of the direction that I knew I didn't want to go in.
I think that's so important, Janyre, that what we want in life, sometimes it seems like it's a straight path. I want this, I'm going for it, then I get there.
Hmm.
But a big part of the journey is understanding what's not for you too. And ultimately, you decided that you wanted more education after you finished at UCF. But I know that that was a special experience for you too. What were your main takeaways from your time living and going to school at UCF?
I think it just taught me how to almost like be an adult in a way. You know, you grow up at home for like years and years, and being in such a big school, it was like you had to do everything on your own. You're on track of your entire own schedule. Like you would get your syllabus at the beginning of the year, and it was like if you have a test in 4 months, like it's your job to remember you have a test in 4 months. So it taught me a lot of independence, time management, uh, places I wanted to go, I didn't want to go, all of those kind of things.
That's Janyre Cooper. You can watch her on WALB-TV in Albany, Georgia. She's the sports anchor, weekend sports anchor and reporter there, and has gotten to cover a lot of cool things. We'll get to that shortly, but you came to Full Sail. Why?
Hmm. I was just graduating from UCF. It was right after COVID 2021. So I think I had a lot of time, like so many other people did, to just like reflect and think. And it was like, what do I want to do? I'm spending all this time in isolation. It makes you realize how precious life was in that moment. And I remember thinking, like, I want to do sports broadcasting. Like, I want to do it. I kind of strayed away, was doing social media marketing into sports, knew I didn't want to do that. So I was like, okay, I want to go and do this, but I had no experience. I had not even a glimpse of what the world was like, how to get into it. So I started looking up different schools and different programs and just things that I thought would help me um, get my foot in the door. Because ultimately, me and my family decided it's probably best. Let's go back to school. Let's get a foundation and then kind of go from there. And of course, those infamous Dan Patrick ads kept popping up. And so I did more research into it and I was close to home. I don't have to leave just yet. And it seems like it's in 2 years. It's not 4 years, which I didn't want to do another 4 years. I felt like that might be a little too long for me just coming off a 4 year degree. And it ended up just being like the perfect storm. And I was like, okay, it's a no brainer at this point.
How long was that period between graduation and when you made that decision? Okay, I'm ready to go back to school.
It was honestly my last semester of UCF was fully online. It was fully virtual because of COVID. And it was during that time where I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to school. And I wanted to get on top of it because I didn't want to spend too much time out of school and get too comfortable and not want to go back. So I made it a mission that I'm gonna start in that fall. And that's kind of what I ended up doing. I graduated in May and then I started at Full Sail in August.
And I know it's a little bit of a different experience because of COVID at UCF, but it's a different type of school than Full Sail. I think it
Mhm.
is the most highly attended. I think you do have the most students at UCF than any other school in the country. I know it was that way recently. Obviously, all the big sporting events going on there. COVID a little bit different, especially if you're finishing up online, basically. But now you're coming to a different type of school. What were your first impressions on this transition that you're going to be making?
Well, my first impression was, oh my God, the classes are so small. Like I just came off of 200, 300 person class, and I'm just like this little person in the corner that nobody knows. So first I walk in and it's so small, and then I look around and it's all male, and I'm like, okay, this is really different than what I'm accustomed to. But I figured if I could handle a class where I'm doing it all on my own, you don't really have a lot of help. It's kind of figure it out. I could come in here and do it. And I felt like it might be a little bit easier to make my mark and get questions answered and get as much help as possible and kind of stand out in a way here than it would be at UCF. So if I can do it there, I could do it here.
I remember it might have been, I don't know if it was the first time I met you, but it was early on and you were thinking intro to sportscasting and you guys came in and we had a class that was about to graduate, which was a very good class that we had. And I don't remember, there were like 5 people in it. And I remember you walking in this huge group. I don't remember how big your group was at the time. It was like 24 people. And
Hmm.
you, I believe, were the only female there. And I thought to myself, oh my God, like I feel so bad that she's in this big group and she's got no other females. I'm sure that was takes a special kind of person to go through it, but sounds like you were up for the challenge. What made that still a good situation for you?
I think it was really similar to what I would probably experience when I left Full Sail. I mean, it's the industry's changing, but it's still considered a male-dominated industry. So I knew that that was kind of going to be my situation, and they all have huge personalities. So I felt like I learned that quickly, and I feel like they helped bring out my own personality in ways, and I just kind of learned with them. Like at the end, it felt like they were like all my little siblings or little brothers in a way, and I just wanted to like learn with them and grow with them, and it was fun. Like I ended up having a great time. Sometimes I wanted to rattle them a little bit, but it was so fun at the end of the day.
It's easy to focus on that, like, oh, wow, it's the one female in the class. But you just brought up
Mhm.
another point that I think is important too, is, you had just completed a whole university program at a 4-year school. Most of the people in that class they were new to the college experience, or either that or they hadn't had as much time as you. How did you adapt to that age difference too?
I think it took me a minute to adapt to it. Um, I knew some of them fresh out of college, and I just thought back, I just spent 4 years and I like didn't really do anything. Like I didn't have experience. I didn't do as many internships. I didn't get that experience that I wanted, and I didn't want them, and I had 4 years to do it. Here they only have 2 years. I didn't want them to have that experience as well and look back and be like, I wish I did more. I wish I took it more serious because then all of a sudden it's over. But at the same time, I had to remind myself that this is their first and only college experience. Like I remember my freshman year, like I wasn't really paying that much attention and doing probably what I should have done. So I think it helped me kind of find a balance of being okay, like you guys should also take this serious, but also like we can have a little fun while we do it too. So I think it taught me that, and then also it just helped me kind of adapt. I don't know. I adapt. I got to it at some point.
Yeah, it's a kind of an interesting situation, and it became
Hmm.
a really like a family. I mean, you guys
Yeah.
all seem to bond well. They kind of like joke, "Oh, you're almost like in the mother role of this, all that," but you're there for yourself too, right? It's not just your goal isn't to, hey, how do I help all these guys get through college? You're there because you got
Hmm.
your own dream. So, how do you find that balance of I'm encouraging these other people, but ultimately I'm out here to reach my goals?
I think I thought that it helped me know that this is kind of my last lifeline in a way. I did my 4 years and I had no experience, so I didn't want to do another 2 years and have no experience because I'm so caught up in what they were doing. So I think just always having that in the back of my mind helped me kind of when I needed to tunnel vision and lock in and be like, okay, we're here for me. They're gonna figure it out one way or another, whether you help them or not, but you got to figure you out first. It's like the thing in the airplane, you can't put someone else's mask on until you put your own on. So that's kind of what I would kept thinking in my head throughout the process.
Oh, that's such a good analogy. And you
Yeah.
mentioned you had some interesting personalities in your group. What were your first impressions when you saw, hey, this is the group I'm going to be going through the next 20 months with?
I was like, I need a lot of patience. I have to learn patience. But I don't think I would have it any other way, honestly. It was just kind of like, it's going to be fun. Like, it's going to be okay. It's not going to feel like, because in my head, I'm like, putting everything that I have like into this. Like I'm like, this is my future, this is my career. It almost felt like so much weight on my shoulders. It was like I have to leave a good mark. I have to get everything out of it that I possibly can. And I think having the personalities like the group that I had helped kind of take that weight off and realize this is actually it's okay to have fun and it's gonna be fun. And like take a deep breath and like enjoy the process and have fun with it as well versus just think of it as like your next job or your next everything's riding on this. Like you can have fun as well. And I think their personalities help me show how to have fun in moments like that.
That's Janyre Cooper. She's crushing it at WALB-TV. And it was pretty clear early on to me, Janyre, that you were interested in learning everything, whether it be helping out, directing, all the jobs in the studio. I remember you guys had a producing IL session. I remember you asking specific questions about rundowns, and really we're just trying to get a gauge of every aspect of it. How did that help you moving forward, not only in our program, but in your job right now?
In the program, I think learning everything at first helped me later in the line because certain things people were still trying to pick up later on, I had already kind of grasped it because I came to those ILs and I learned things. So I could kind of focus a little bit more on the actual on camera stuff and the delivery and figuring out how to say this, how to do that, versus figuring out how to do my rundown because I already knew that. So it was kind of helped me focus more towards the end because as you go through the program or as anyone gone through the program knows, it's really back heavy and there's so much that you do towards the end that you're able to kind of put your all in it when you learn a lot of these little, they're still important, but they're a little bit smaller and easier to grasp things at the beginning. And then in the industry, I mean, we know it's changing into, one person doing a lot of roles. And so to have that whole background of knowing how to do it all versus some people coming in and they don't have a clue on how to do anything, I think really helped me out just being able to digest it all because it's a lot. Like you guys set us up so well, but it is still a different world out there. So just to have those little things that it's like, okay, I know this, so I can focus a little bit more on this and like not stress about that. And yeah, that is exactly what eventually ended up happening. And I was able to kind of hit the ground running maybe quicker than other people who had started with me were.
And when you're in there in the control room, there is a bit of a paying your dues system going on that's happening, right? So like when I would see you, I wasn't in your classes every day and seeing your outstanding performances every day. I see you and you're there directing, you're there working playback, you're there technical directing, whatever it is for that day, audio, whatever. But ultimately, that wasn't your goal, but you're learning the process through it. But how did being around and in the studio every day help you grow as an on-air personality too, even though you weren't actually doing the on-air work when you were helping other classes?
Well, I was able to watch the earlier classes do all their assignments, so I kind of got a glimpse into what was coming, what worked, what didn't work, what, I should be striving for and what I shouldn't be striving for. So I think being in there and getting to see it firsthand, because you don't really know the titles of these classes, like they make sense, but it's so much deeper than what the actual title is. You don't know what is coming. So to be able to get a glimpse of it, I think really helped me as well. And then also learning directing helped me on air. Learning the technical directing helped me on air. Helped me do it all correctly, sending my assets in. Like it helped me just be on top of everything. And it's kind of like this fluid wheel. Everything like flows into one another. So if you know how to do this, it's going to help you so much in this. If you know how to do things on air well, it's gonna help you off air. It all just kind of went into one. So I felt like my toolkit could never be big enough. And I just kept wanting to add more into it to help myself once I got to the later classes.
Well, ultimately, what we were looking for from you was growth every class, every rep, every month. Sometimes there's going to be ups and downs. It's not going to be a
Hmm.
straight path forward, but how did you get better?
Honestly, just reps and feedback. Feedback's so hard to come by nowadays. I mean, luckily we have you guys, so we can still send stuff in, but that day-to-day feedback isn't what you get in the real world. So I would just say reps and learning, asking questions, and just not being afraid to like try different things. I look back and still wish like, oh, I wish I tried a little bit more. I wish I did things a little bit different, but reps and taking any opportunity that I could get when I was there, just saying yes and doing it, I think helped because that's the biggest thing that you'll learn in this industry is just doing it is how you're going to get better every day. And at Full Sail, I got to do it every day in all different kinds of environments.
Janyre Cooper with us here. One of the people that you got feedback from directly was Dan Patrick. And I know that helped. It's funny, we were chatting the other day and you brought up a word that you use frequently with you is Janyre, I want to see that sparkle. I just need that sparkle. You're doing so many things well, but that's what you got to work on. How
Mhm.
did that direct feedback from Dan give you things to work on and continue your growth?
It just gave me more of a tunnel of what exactly I needed to work on. And it's funny that he used the word sparkle because in cheerleading, I used to have my big poofy hair and they would always put sparkles in it. And I would hate it because it would take so long to wash out. And now here I am 15 years later and I'm telling I need more sparkle. And I'm like, this would, of course, be the one word that he uses. But I think just hearing it directly from someone who's done it at the highest level possible for almost what feels like forever. He's like the pivotal part of sports broadcasting. So to hear from him direct feedback that I needed allowed me also to know like, okay, like I can do this. Like you just have to figure it out, work on these things. But it gave me a little bit almost of like a reassurance, that feedback that I felt like sometimes you can just need sometimes in life.
Your education was very strong in the classroom, but you took advantage of so many additional opportunities that I'm sure that enhanced that growth and the development of everything you were just talking about. I kind of want to just go through as many of them as we can right now. Maybe not all of them, but Rollins report. That was a new thing that you were part of launching, and I know it was special not only for us but for Rollins. How did you get into that?
Gus sent an email and was like, we're starting this new thing. If anyone wants to offer to sign up for it, like send an email back, let us know that you want to be involved. And um, I like immediately emailed him back. And I think to like our surprise, not many people signed up for it. I think there was like very few. So we were the lucky ones who got chosen to do it. And I was like, why not? Half of the stuff that was on my reel when I got my job was from Rollins Report. I wouldn't have had that stuff without it. So I thought this is a no-brainer. I couldn't even believe more people didn't sign up for it, honestly.
Well, that's really doing the job, right? You're out there,
Hmm.
you're creating content on a deadline and putting together things that are really focusing on the main angles of how games were won or how athletes have been impactful on the school and all that. So, kind of one of your first on the job experiences. What did you take from it?
It showed me what it would be like day in and day out doing it. Because when you get to Full Sail, they give you assets. They give you kind of the video that you need to use most of the time, a little bit of a storyline. But when we went to Rollins Report, I believe his name was Phil. I could be wrong.
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
right, but Phil, he was just kind of like, we just want to highlight our sports in some way. Like just give us what you got. So it was kind of just figuring it out from scratch. And that's exactly what it's like in the real world. You have the story and you're figuring it out from scratch. You're going and find a video, you're finding people to interview, you're building this package off of basically nothing. You're trying to figure it out all on your own. And the Rollins report is the first experience that I had really doing that. And that is basically what set me up, I feel like, for getting a job at WALB in the industry.
You're a Central Florida native, and the word Central Florida were in a couple other things you did. Jeff Radcliffe had some great opportunities for you. The Central Florida Panthers, the Central Florida Crusaders. What was it like covering them?
It was cool. I felt like when I started it, I think Alfonso was still there. There was a few others that were there, and I was able to like learn from them and watch them because I really didn't know what it was going to be like. I've never been around live streaming a game before, or people calling it, or sideline reports, or things like that. So it was just awesome to see it firsthand and like get that hands-on experience because I didn't know what any of that was like. And I feel like it was just enough for me to like digest it and understand it and learn and kind of just like, I feel like I almost was able to like watch for a lot of it. And I think that's like kind of what I needed at first.
And another place that you gave a hand and learned on the job, Orangewood Christian. I know that there were a lot of things you did there that fit into long-term goals. How did you like that opportunity?
That was really fun. I think it was my first time covering like high school, which is what I do now a lot. So all
Yeah.
of it just plays back into getting that experience in school that I was just able to throw in firsthand and use at my first job. But it ended up working out so well because the volleyball coach ended up being my final assignment for advanced interviewing. So it was just hand in hand, and I got to learn different things and make connections in the community. And that was like my first connection that I was able to use for school. So I think that also worked out really well for me. And it was just like falling into place perfectly. It felt like just because like I had kept saying yes to an opportunity. Scott Kirk asked me, "Hey, do you want to be a part of this?" And I was just like, "Yeah, sure." And so it all kind of just fell hand in hand.
And back in the classroom, I think one of the great things about having the bigger class, you guys had the largest graduating class to date, I believe, is you do get that group feel, that camaraderie, that working with so
Hmm.
many different people. But one of the disadvantages is just kind of a numbers and a time crunch that maybe you don't get quite as many reps. It's not like we can do unlimited reps with every student under the time we have in the studio. How did you make the most of the reps that you got?
I think just being so focused on it and taking it serious. It kind of goes back to sometimes I wanted to like shake them and be like, take this serious. I knew that if I don't get this right the first one or two times, there's a good chance that I'm like not gonna get to do this again because there are so many people behind me or so many people before me that had already gone. It's 2 or 3 days that we have to book the studio for our class. So just taking advantage of every opportunity. And it helps because when you're live. Like you get one shot. There isn't a million times that you can get it. And I feel like that almost gave us an advantage because it was like that one time mentality versus if we were a smaller class, it's like, okay, I can do this a few times and like try it. But in the real world, you're live, you're live. You either get it right or you don't, unless like, you're doing a look live or something. But it's usually that one take mindset. So I feel like it helped us get into that kind of mentality earlier on, maybe than some of the smaller classes.
Well, one of those classmates who you developed a really good friendship with was Reese Ford, and it was cool to see you two work together on your final shows, your final show with me in my class. But how did you and Reese form this connection that really helped you both throughout the program?
Well, he's gonna hate this story, but I feel like we really got close when he went to the Bills Chiefs game. It was like a playoff game. They lost. He came back into class late, and the entire class is doing like the war chant. And he was just quite upset. And I felt so bad. I was just like trying to talk to him and like just make it a little less miserable because they were all just giving him so much flack about it. And I feel like ever since then, we just always like were chatting about school, like all kinds of things. And we just bonded really well and we're able to like take that friendship throughout each class because it is unique. You stay with your same group throughout it versus other colleges. You may take one class with someone and never see them again for the next 4 years. So to just continuously like be around each other, I think we just created like a really great friendship.
I know there was a lot going on outside of class too, from football games in the parking lots, everything else that everybody did. Do you have a favorite story outside of class from anything that happened during your time with that group going through our program?
Oh God, a favorite story outside of class. Uh, I think my favorite story, and this was just well, Nico used to be a part of our
Yeah,
class,
yeah.
and then he graduated, but he would always take his bike to and from school, and that would be like just a funny thing that the whole class would talk about. And then he eventually got a car, and I think we were all outside watching him change his temporary license plate to his real license plate. And we have like a photo together, and I just think that is like so funny because it would be his bike or someone would be taking him to class, and to watch him finally, switch his license plate. That was like such a big monumental moment for everyone to watch. I think that was like probably my favorite part. I think it was so funny.
I'm glad you brought up Nico because I know you two had a really good friendship as well. And it was funny. I was looking at that football helmet that Tyler had brought in that all of you signed when you finished. And I saw Nico signed it too, even though he technically didn't graduate with all of you. But what was it like to first have Nico in your class and then not, but still work with him throughout your time as both of you helped each other get better?
Yeah, well, we were similar ages, so it kind of was like at first like, okay, I have someone who's like a little bit older that I can like relate to on certain things, and he was well versed in like life, had been like experienced so many of like the similar things that I had. So it was nice to like be able to just like have a conversation with someone who kind of like understood certain parts of life that maybe some of the younger guys hadn't necessarily gone through yet. So I think that really built our connection. And then just to go about it, he was very into the experience as much as I was and wanted to understand it and say yes to everything. So it could always be like, we have this opportunity, like, do you want to do it? And he'd be like, yes. So it was like always nice to have someone who was like-minded like me and like wanted to say yes and wanted to do it. And I feel like that pushed me to be better. And I feel like me being around him pushed him to be better. And it just was kind of like a great little dynamic that we had going.
Well, Janyre Cooper has now been in the TV industry working full time for more than 2 years. But I remember back to her final month and watching her first couple of shows and thinking she's really solid. She's got all this stuff down. But the one thing I want to see a little bit more from, I want her to find that creative juice to take it over the top because it was very clear you could do the job at a high level. But what I challenged you to do was, all right, now let's take being really good at this and now let's make it remarkable and something nobody can stop seeing. So, how were you able to kind of take that feedback and move it forward?
Very similar to kind of doing it in school, just doing it over and over, being the weekend anchor. I was able to implement that on Sundays. Like Sundays are my main days that I anchor and implement it there. And I think I had to find my confidence first and having someone like believe in me and be like, okay, we want you to do this like in the real world and get paid for it, no matter like what market or wherever it was. I think just having that little bit of reassurance and that confidence in me allowed me also to like branch out and try new things because I felt like I was always a little reserved. Like I knew I could push more, but I was just like, I don't know, timid and like a little nervous to do it. And it was for a grade. And I was just like, I felt like I just wanted to be perfect every time. And I felt like doing it every day and learning that it's not going to be perfect every single time, but you're going to try, you're going to give it your all and implement all the things that you guys taught us and try to figure out, do I like saying it this way? Do I like doing it this way? What about how should I hold my hands? How should I hold my script, my prompter? Like just learning the little things that like make I think helped in general and allowed me to really push it to the next level. And then once I got comfortable just in myself and on camera, I was able to then push it into my writing and then push it into stacking my shows in a certain way and just every time like getting better at individual things that eventually hopefully will add up to one big good picture.
Yeah, I think trial and error is a big part of it. I'm glad you mentioned that because just like an actor doing multiple takes, trying a few different things to see if it works, that's kind of what you have to do until you find your comfort zone and the things that you really think are what makes you who you are. And I think that you have done that and having the day-to-day reps, the perfect job right now, weekend anchor, reporter, because you get reps doing both multiple times a week, certainly helps you to get there. And we're about to get into what Janyre does now in her career in just a minute. But before we do that, I do want to touch on graduation. It was a really special time to be around all of you for the final week. I remember NFL draft was happening that week, and then you were graduating shortly after. What was graduation day and week like for you?
It felt like it was overwhelming. I couldn't believe that I was already graduating. I felt like I just walked through the doors and all of a sudden here we are getting shipped off to like do it in the real world. And I almost wanted to be like, no, wait, I don't want to go yet. I know I only wanted 2 years of school, but like, can we make it 4 years? Like I'm not I'm not ready to go out there. But it was also exciting. So very bittersweet because I was excited to get out there and do it in the real world, but also so sad to say goodbye to all of my classmates and say goodbye to all of you guys and not be able to be in the studio every day and learn it from you guys. It was just going to do it out on my own. So I would say it was bittersweet. It was definitely emotional. I think I shed a few tears, but it was, I think it was like the perfect week to wrap it all up and just have it all of us together one last time in the studio after graduations. Everyone's family was there. It felt like a really good, bittersweet send off for everyone.
Well, and you were ready to work, but to work, somebody's got to hire you. So you
Hmm.
had to go through that process to figure out where am I going to be? Where am I going to move to? What's going to happen? What were the ups and downs of those days and weeks after graduation until you got that chance?
It was just I feel like the back to that confidence thing, I wasn't so confident that, like, I could do it in the real world yet, and I remember going to Gus all the time and be like, "Where do you think I should go? Like, what market level?" I wasn't really sure what it was actually like out there and, like, how much the market levels varied from, 200 to 100, from 50 to 10, like, I just wasn't sure, and I remember being so just, like, in my head about it and just, like, self-doubting, and I'm like, "I know that I can do this, but it just feels like so much pressure because you're doing it in the real world." So I was just lost a little bit and asking 100 questions and just trying to figure it all out and grasp it all until thankfully it kind of all worked out in my favor.
What advice do you have for people that are in those same shoes with that uncertainty after graduation?
I would just lean on the environment that you have at Full Sail because I feel like when I was really doubting myself, I was able to go, whether it's you, Gus, Gordy, Ruddy, like I was able to ask questions and be like, can I really do this? And the good thing about you guys is you're going to be brutally honest and say, listen, we don't think you're ready yet, or yes, you can do this. So I would say lean on the community that Full Sail gives you because your inner demons and your inner monologue will beat you down, but the people around you will definitely lift you up. And I think I needed that like big time in that moment. You guys were definitely there for that.
Well, spoiler alert, she made it. So what's it like to be living the dream now?
It is more than I could even imagine. It is long hours. I cannot lie about that. If you think you're going to go in and be, your 9 to 5, like throw that out the window and get a grip because it is crazy work. But it is some of the most enjoyable, rewarding, entertaining things that I could ever ask for. Like, I sit there sometimes and I'm at a game and I'm like, I can't believe I'm getting paid to just like be here right now. Like, that's kind of insane to think about. Like, I could never imagine that, but I don't know how to explain it. I feel like maybe you just have to like live it to do it. I know they call it living the dream, but it has just been incredibly rewarding too at the same time, but also just an amazing experience.
Well, one thing that I like to say when I'm getting ready for people to do assignment number 2 in my class, the 6 and 11 o'clock sportscast, I like to tell the students that, and I don't know if I told you this or not at the time, Janyre, but I like to say this assignment was basically my job every day, right? So
Yep.
I'm giving you whatever, a week, however long it is between when I share the directions and you perform. It's about a week generally. I'm like, get on it because you're going to run out of time. But hey, if you think this is hard, I did this every day basically. So is that accurate? And if so or not, I know it's a double barrel question, but if so or not, where does this kind of fall into your daily experience, the 6 and 11 o'clock sportscast?
The 6 and 11 is my daily experience. It is whether I'm turning content for the 6 and 11 as a reporter or I'm anchoring the 6 and 11. It's what I do day in and day out. And we don't have a week to put our show together. I come in at 2:30, my show's at 6. I have that time to get my 6, and then between 6:30 and 11, I have that time to get my 11. So it is exactly what I do on a day-to-day basis, just in a very small amount of time compared to what you guys give us at Full Sail, but I was able to get it, I feel like, and grasp it and get hired as a weekend anchor because I had just done it for the last couple months or however long it was at Full Sail that I was able to, use that in the real world because it is exactly what we do. I tell people when I talk to them, I don't feel like I'm learning anything new. I just feel like I'm putting everything that I've learned from Full Sail into practice when I'm at work.
Well, and you have an opportunity to work with another Full Sail grad. Aaron Mukes is a sports director at the station that you are at. What was it like to join a team knowing that he had gone through the same classes that you did and understood where you were coming from?
Yeah, it was interesting. We had a little bit of a different experience because he was an online student and I was an in-person. So I feel like I had more hands-on experience like in the studio than maybe he had. And I think we were all learning off of each other. The other anchor or reporter who was there, she was also new in the industry, only a year in. So we were all kind of learning off of each other. But it was nice to go somewhere and know that he knew what I was talking about in certain things and that I knew how to do this long list of things because I could have gone somewhere with a sports director who just didn't know where I came from and everything that I had in my toolbox and maybe not given me the opportunity to do the things that I was able to do at WALB because Aaron had knew exactly everything that I had learned and what I'm able to do and all my skill sets.
Well, and that's a big thing is now you're part of a team, not only your sports team, but the team at your new station in total. That's one of the things I guess we can kind of teach you a little bit about when you're with us, but ultimately you have to experience that firsthand. What is it like understanding like I'm bigger than just myself here. I'm doing this for the station and the community.
It I feel like takes a while because you're so used to being at Full Sail and being like though this is for me, this is for my grade, this is for me to learn and for me to digest. And then you turn and you go and do it for the station. And it's kind of like, well, actually, this is for the station. And this is for, if I'm turning a story, the story's not for me. The story is for the viewers and even the person that I'm doing the story on and sharing their story. Like it's about them. So I feel like it almost makes you shift your focus a little bit and realize, okay, it's not about me, it's about the people around me and who you're doing it for. So I felt like it might take you a little time to adapt to it. But once you keep going, you kind of get the idea of where it's supposed to be and that it's almost always like a station first mindset, if that makes sense.
What's been your favorite thing you've covered so far there?
Oh gosh, my favorite thing that I've covered. I would say my favorite thing that I covered. Oh my gosh. I would have to say maybe the Orange Bowl had to been 2 years ago. It was when it was Georgia, Florida State, and it would have been my favorite thing if every Florida State player did not opt out, and it was gonna be a great game, but unfortunately, they chose themselves in that moment and opted out, but still the experience to go down there and cover an event like that on like a national level was probably my favorite. And it was a fun little trip to Miami. I got to go back to Florida, my home state. And it was Georgia, Florida State. Their fan base traveled so well. So to cover something like on a big scale like that was really exciting.
And that sounds like a dream for anyone, and it is a lot of fun, but at the same time, some of those trips are some of the most heavy work-loaded trips also. How did you adapt to this thought that, hey, now I'm covering this big national event, everybody's here, tons of media to compete with, and now I got to put together my own stuff?
I think we just tried not to hone in on that too much and just know that we do this every day. Like, yes, it's at a higher scale, but we're going to come in and do the job that we're here to do. And there were so many other people there. There was all the Atlanta stations that we talked to all the time that we were able to ask them questions, pick their brain, what they thought, talk to their photogs and be like, how would you shoot this? How would you film this? Where would you set up your camera for this kind of thing? So it was a great learning experience, but I don't think we put too much on it because we knew in our head that we were capable of doing it. It was just doing it and finding the right time. And we actually, because we're a smaller station, not only did we have to turn our normal content, but we had to turn a special because that's what was sponsored and paid for us to go down there. So it was double work on top of it. So just trying to figure out how to do it all was a lot, but we tried not to put too much on the emphasis that like this is this big, big thing, like it has to be. We're like, let's just take it moment by moment, swallow it all, and figure out how to do it.
Those specials are always so work intense, but they're also, for me,
Yeah.
they were always my favorite thing. I still have memories of being up at like 2:30 in the morning editing extra content for a special that we had coming up. How did it all come together in the end for you?
It came out very well. Like we were up till 2 or 3 in the morning, and we were only there, I think, the day before the game, and then we left the day after the game. So we didn't have a lot to work with, but they had so many different events that we were trying to put in the special, whether it was the pep rally, the parade, fan experiences that we were trying to talk to. One of the Georgia players is from our high school, so we tried to do a little small segment on him in the special. So it was just trying to find little stories inside this big story that we could use it all for one thing. But it ended up coming together. It all worked out, thankfully, and we were able to head back and delivered what we felt like was a pretty good piece of work.
But most of your days are not like that. You brought up covering high school sports earlier. How is the mindset different when you're approaching local communities and trying to tell their stories?
I think when you are doing local, it's more about the stories and the athletes more than it is the game, if that makes sense. Because when you're doing these big games, it's like, oh, they matter for something. Every team's trying to get this national championship. Every time team's trying to get this playoffs. That's not necessarily the case in high school. A lot of this is just these local teams who people have lived together their whole lives, and this is their local high school, and they love to see it. So you almost shift it to more of a human interest side when it comes to the local versus when it's national. It's a little bit more X's and O's, highlights, things of that nature. So learning to integrate yourself in the community and hear what they want to hear about their teams, that's kind of how you move forward as you learn what they want to know. And that's kind of what you tell versus in the national world, you can kind of pick what you want to tell about the team because there's so many different aspects of it that are story ability, that has story ability. But local, you find out what the community wants to know.
Yeah, I think you really do have to master that art of storytelling. And I think back to when
Hmm.
you were in Mark Condren's class, learning the ins and out of creating a package from the writing to the shooting to all that. But how have you seen your storytelling skills grow over your time in the business?
It has grown a lot. I feel like I've learned to ask different questions, ask them in a better way, kind of get a deeper side of things versus at first it was very surface level. I only kind of told the facts that I knew going into it. And now I'm able to actually sit down, have a conversation, ask questions that maybe lead somewhere that I was never expecting, and then shift my mindset to making the story about that. So I think just doing it every day and hearing different stories and figuring out what works, what doesn't work has allowed me to kind of get deeper with some of these people and actually have like a real conversation versus it just being so factual based all the time when I talk to them.
We talked earlier about your process of developing that comfort level when it came to your creativity and all that. Is there a moment in mind where you felt like everything just started to click for you and you took that next jump?
Not a moment specifically, but I felt like once I had a year under my belt, going into my second like football season, I kind of felt like I moved a little bit lighter in a way. Like I felt less stressed because I knew what was coming ahead of me and I knew I had just did this for a year. I've really developed like my own sense of style, my own way of kind of delivering the news and delivering the stories and when I'm anchoring. So I feel like once that year mark hit, I was extremely comfortable with like who I am and how I tell the story and how I am on camera that it felt like going into that second year things were like kind of clicking for me.
I saw on your resume on your website something that said something like boosted digital engagement metrics by over 300%. So now we're going
Yes.
back not only to Full Sail, but your UCF things that you learned there. How
Hmm.
have you been able to help the station with that digital engagement?
Well, one thing you will learn if you are in a gray station is that they push digital heavy. Everything is going digital based. So we had to push a lot to get honestly digital help on the sports team. Sports is kind of the back burner for sometimes a lot of these stations. It's news heavy first, weather first, and then sports is kind of not the forefront, obviously, of some people's mind. But I think we just kept going on and being like, we need a little bit of digital help. Like, we kept going to the digital team. Like, we're going to post this. Like, can you share this on the page? Like, just really pushing the idea of adding sports into the digital world allowed kind of our station and our market and our number to kind of go up and learning like what the community wanted. We would do a little pregame hit before our game of the week, and that was only streamed on digital. We would have certain sports digital pushes, and I think just learning it, honestly, all the digital stuff that I know now, I feel like I really learned here in like within this last like 6 to 7 months. And it was just within the last couple months that our digital team actually started tracking the sports numbers and like the difference that we've seen. And that's where we saw that it jumped like almost 300% by just like being consistent and staying on top of it and also getting like a little bit of digital help and just being able to put it all together in one.
I'm glad you brought up Gray too, because Gray Television, because we got a lot of graduates working there and many others who are applying. What have been some of the benefits for working for that company?
I really enjoy the Gray Company. I think they're putting a lot into their sports departments when other parent companies maybe aren't. They have Braves on Gray now, so they're streaming some Braves games. They have the SEC Media Days where they're flying out all of these stations to SEC Media Day, which is in Atlanta in just a couple weeks, and having them cover their team. So they're putting a lot into the sports department. I feel like when you see so many times sports departments are getting cut or they're getting minimized. And Gray is doing the complete opposite, which I think as a sports person, why would you want to be anywhere else?
Well, you are now established in the industry. What are your future dreams within the business?
They change every day. I try something new and I'm like, oh, I would love to do this. I would love to do that. But I feel like at the end of the day, I would love to just be an all around person. Like when I first think of like who's doing it now, I think of like you see Laura Rutledge everywhere. I would love to do that because I love to be in the studio as much as I like love to be on the sideline. And I wouldn't want to give either of them up. So in a world where I could do both would be my ideal. And I would love to be around college football because it just has such a special place in my heart. I don't know why or where it kind of came from, but I think it was my early days at UCF. I remember them being like 0 and 10 and seeing nobody at the games. And then my first year there, undefeated, and just to watch like the community all come together and just be in that environment, like I think changed my world completely. And so I would love to be somewhere in the college football space, hopefully doing a little bit of everything if, I'm blessed enough and God takes me there.
Well, getting your first job is really hard to get a first, especially on-air job in TV. But then it's a different process when you get ready to look for job 2 and 3 and 4 and all that. How does it feel different going through the process of maybe the next step of, okay, now I have a job, but I still have future goals I want to reach?
You take a little bit more, I think, into consideration. When I was first looking for a job, I would have taken anything that I got because I was just trying to get my foot in the door. Now, I'm hoping that my next job, I can kind of tailor it more towards what I want to do versus just accepting anything that comes my way. I feel like you're a little bit more strategic about where you're going and kind of the places that you want to be, the market that you want to be in, the station culture that they have, what they put their money to. You kind of look more deep into those things and having an idea of how a newsroom works. You also are looking at the culture of the newsroom and what it looks like being there day in and day out versus when you're first looking for a job. Take anything you can get and just run with it and go with it and make the best you can of it, is what I would say. And then that second job, you can tailor it a little bit more towards where you want to be.
Super good advice. Love that. All right. I like to end these conversations with the dream sequence. Some quick, short questions, rapid
Okay.
fire, quick answers for. So we're going to take it through your eyes and your journey to ask these questions today. You ready for it?
Okay, I'm undecisive, but I'm ready. Or indecisive.
Way back at the beginning of the show, we talked about how you liked to bake. What would be
Mhm.
your dream dessert party that you could throw?
Oh, chocolate chip cookies. They're my favorite. The standard, but I love chocolate chip cookies.
I will love them too if I get to eat some. Okay, question number 2. I know you also like to travel. Dream
Mhm.
week-long getaway. Get out of work, do whatever you want. Where would you go?
Oh, I would have to hit like a few different places, I think in Europe, I would say, or Italy. I would love to go like up the coast of Italy, maybe. I would somewhere, I've never been out of the country, so I
Oh,
want to take my
wow.
passport
Awesome.
and go.
That
Yeah.
sounds fun. I just was up the coast of Italy, so I'll be happy to share a
Really?
few recommendations with you. Yeah, you
Please,
would
because
love it. I know it.
yeah, that's on my bucket list.
Okay, finally, you mentioned college football, how much you love it. Dream
Mhm.
college football sideline to be on at any point.
Like any game or like a
You
team?
can take that however you want. Team, game, any type of event. What sideline would you like to be there working?
I mean, I have to say the national championship, right? I mean, that would be like no other. I would say the national championship for sure. Part of college game day maybe in a lifetime, but I would say the national championship.
UCF's won a national championship, right? According to them.
2017, never forget it.
Still on the stadium wall.
Yes, and it's in the record books. It may have an asterisk, but it's there. So,
Good stuff. You've shared a lot of excellent advice over the course of our conversation, but what final advice would you love to share for anybody who wants to be doing what you're doing?
I would just say yes to things. I wouldn't be in this situation if I didn't say yes to going to Full Sail, if I didn't say yes to doing the Rollins report, if I didn't say yes to taking a job at WALB. Like you just have to say yes and go with it. It may not be everything that you want it to be, but you'll get so much more out of it than I think you even realize when you look back. So I would say yes and just enjoy the journey because it goes by quick. Next thing you know, you're and your first job, and then all of a sudden you're looking for your next job and you're like, whoa, this is all happening so fast, but you get to do some amazing moments along the way. So say yes and just enjoy every aspect of it.
Yeah, it's incredible to think you've already been working in the industry for 2 years. Just seems like yesterday that you were with us in the studio saying your goodbyes at Full Sail, and I'm really proud of you. That's Janyre Cooper. Janyre Cooper off to a fantastic start to her career. I appreciate all your time today, Janyre. She's living her dream. How about all of you? Keep on living your own.